Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Venezuela's ousted President Nicolas Maduro pleads not guilty in a New York court. Delcy Rodriguez sworn in as interim president. Opposition leader Machado vows to return home as soon as possible. Attacks on minorities continue in Bangladesh. A Hindu businessman shot dead and a Hindu woman allegedly gang raped, raising law and order fears before polls. Coalition of the willing countries to gather in Paris with an aim to make security pledges concrete for Kiev. And Thailand accuses Cambodia of violating a 10-day-old truce. One soldier injured in fresh cross-border fire. The ousted Venezuelan leader and his wife pleaded not guilty to drug and weapons charges in a New York courtroom. The appearance comes 2 days after the United States captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, in a military attack. Meanwhile, Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as Venezuela's interim president. A report.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro made his first U.S. court appearance in New York, pleading not guilty to federal charges. He also insisted he's still in charge as Venezuela's president. Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty to charges in the same hearing. Maduro is facing charges of narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and weapon charges. The judge ordered both to remain behind bars and set a new hearing date of March 17th. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed members of Congress regarding the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela, prompting a divided response from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized the administration's plans, calling them vague and unsatisfying.
Well, this briefing, while very extensive and long, posed far more questions than it ever answered. Their plan for the U.S. running Venezuela is vague, based on wishful thinking, and unsatisfying.
The U.S. military operation in Venezuela was a decisive and justified action. Nicolas Maduro is responsible for the deaths of untold thousands of Americans after years of trafficking illegal drugs and violent cartel members into our country.
House Speaker Mike Johnson defended the operation, citing the detention of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as a victory. U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the Trump administration was misleading Americans by portraying the operation as a counter-narcotics or law enforcement action. Venezuelan's parliament swore in Delcy Rodriguez as interim president 2 days after U.S. forces seized her predecessor, Nicolas Maduro. Following the swearing ceremony of interim leader Delcy Rodriguez, thousands of protesters gathered demanding the release of ousted leader Nicolas Maduro. To discuss the U.S. operation in Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, the United Nations Security Council held a meeting in New York. During the meet, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for respect of nations' political independence following a U.S. military operation in Venezuela. At the emergency UNSC meeting, the United States rejected accusations of aggression against Venezuela, saying the operation was a law enforcement action tied to long-standing criminal charges. While Venezuela's UN ambassador Samuel Moncada said international norms were at risk and also urged the Security Council to demand that Washington release Maduro and his wife. In a series of shock announcements over the weekend, Trump then declared that the United States was in charge and intends to take control of Venezuela's huge but decrepit oil industry. President Trump also dismissed the idea of Venezuela having new elections in the next month. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado on Monday said that she will be returning to Venezuela soon. In her first public comments since a social media post over the weekend when the U.S. military captured Maduro, the Nobel Peace Prize winner vowed to return to her country as soon as possible. She welcomed the U.S. actions as a huge step for humanity, for freedom and human dignity. Talking to Fox News, Machado openly rejected the country's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, saying she is one of the main architects of torture, persecution, corruption and narco-trafficking. Machado also vowed to turn Venezuela into the energy hub of the Americas and promised to bring millions of Venezuelans back home who have been forced to flee the country. Greenland has moved to calm public concerns amid renewed remarks by US President Donald Trump about taking over the Arctic island. Denmark and several European allies have pushed back firmly, stressing that any attempt to seize Greenland would undermine decades of transatlantic security. Here is the full report.
Prime Minister of Greenland Jens Frederik Nielsen has assured the citizens that while Greenland seeks to strengthen economic ties with the US, they should not fear an imminent takeover. Nielsen's business but not possession stance follows a surge of renewed interest from President Trump, who recently branded the Arctic island a national security necessity. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has cautioned that US President Donald Trump must be taken seriously. She iterated that any move to take Greenland by force would dismantle 80 years of transatlantic security. Denmark emphasized that the island's future remains solely in the hands of its people.
Firstly, I believe that the American president should be taken seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That is, including our NATO and thus the security that has been provided since the end of the Second World War.
European allies have sought to lend firm support to Denmark. Germany's Foreign Minister Johan Wadefull stressed that Greenland is a sovereign part of Denmark and by extension a member of the NATO alliance. He suggested that NATO may need to discuss strengthening protection for the island to deter any unilateral US ambitions. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said only Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark could decide the territory's future. France's Foreign Ministry spokesman has said that borders cannot be changed by force.
Greenland is part of the Danish kingdom, and since Denmark is a member of NATO, Greenland will in principle also have to be defended by NATO. And if there are further requirements to strengthen defense efforts with regard to Greenland, then we will have to discuss this together within the framework of the alliance.
The issue has evolved into a test of the NATO alliance. With Copenhagen standing firm and Berlin calling for reinforced protection, the world now waits to see if Washington will prioritize its strategic need for the North or the 80-year-old bond transatlantic that has secured the West since the Cold War. Bureau Report, DD India.
Colombia has reaffirmed its commitment to collaborating with the United States in the fight against drug trafficking, using American intelligence and technology to enhance efforts. Colombia's Interior Minister Armando Benedetti, in a video with Justice Minister Andres Idaraga, said that Bogota's anti-drug operations would target drug laboratories, criminal organizations and their camps.
El gobierno de Colombia.
The Colombian government, through the Interior Ministry and Justice Ministry, informs the United States government, through one of their intelligence agencies, that we will continue coordinating and cooperating in the fight against drug trafficking, based on intelligence and their technology to destroy laboratories and criminal structure and their camps.
para contra el narcotráfico.
The fight against drug trafficking must continue to be waged jointly with technology, with all the advances in cooperation that the US government can give us. We will continue to emphasize the fight against this scourge, particularly on the Colombian-Venezuelan border. The purpose is to continue walking hand in hand against this scourge that causes so much damage to both countries.
And Akshay Dongre joins us on the story now. Akshay, if you could summarize for us, how have global powers and regional actors such as Russia, China, neighboring Latin American countries responded to the US-Venezuela confrontation, and what impact could their positions have on the future political landscape in Venezuela?
Well, it seems that more than even China and Russia's reactions that have come as far as the abduction of Nicolas Maduro is concerned, is more significant would be the reaction that are coming in from South American countries, especially Colombia, Chile, Brazil. And these countries, Cuba as well, these are the countries that would in fact have more ramifications for the US, being in just the backyard of the United States of America, criticizing the way this has happened. In fact, the Chilean president has spoken about the action that has been taken by the US military of taking Maduro to the US soil to be trialed for the drug-related cases that they're accusing him of, by saying that this can happen to anybody and any of the country can have its name on target as far as US is concerned. Whenever they wish to take any kind of aggressive action against the countries, they will be taking this sort of precedence to act against them, and that perhaps would be a bigger worry than what China and Russia can do at this point in time. Because we have the facts right now. Russia is in itself embroiled in a conflict with Ukraine, that also Ukraine is being supported by European countries. It's being supported by the US as well. So the Russian hands are quite full, and it would not want to engage in another front as far as this sort of conflict that is brewing in Latin America is concerned. China, yes, it was a major trade ally of Venezuela. However, there is a vast distance between China and Venezuela. Any kind of help that China wants to provide to Venezuelan leadership will have to cross all the Pacific Ocean and then the entire South American continent to reach and be near Venezuela, just to find itself right in the back of the US. So that's also an option that is not very much feasible for the Venezuelan government at this point in time to seek support from the international allies. What it can expect is the support from the neighboring countries like Cuba, like Chile. Colombia now is talking about cooperation with the US, but still there is a sort of sympathy with the Venezuelan government at this point in time, that and the action that has showed that similar kind of actions can be taken against anybody if they oppose the sort of imperialistic designs that we are seeing of the US, be it the Greenland, be it Venezuela. Earlier it was Canada, where Trump had expressed his hopes of annexing that country as well. So the situation remains quite complicated when it comes to geopolitics and the countries that are embroiled in this entire controversy. But at this point in time, the action that is obviously illegal according to the UN Charter is just illegal on paper. But as far as real life is concerned, there is hardly anything either the UN or any kind of international players can do to stop right now.
All right. Akshay, yes, Delcy Rodriguez has been sworn in as Venezuela's interim president, but there have been rallies in Caracas demanding Maduro's release. And now Machado vowing to return to Venezuela. Should we expect to see more political instability in Venezuela in the days ahead?
Well, obviously, there will be a lot of political instability, because now it's clear that there are two camps divided in the country. One is pro-Maduro, that is of the people that are in the government, the military is there, their own security forces that are operating inside Venezuela, and then there is opposition that has in a way welcomed the move that has been taken by the US. A sort of short-sighted, according to many, this support because their citizen, their countryman has been abducted by a foreign nation where he is being tried for under foreign laws and in a foreign judiciary. So obviously, the overwhelming support is right now still with the government of Venezuela. Yes, there is another camp as well, and in the near future, the way US has been speaking about this entire conflict, that if Venezuela doesn't fall in line, and if Rodriguez doesn't follow what he commands, then there will be a fate worse than Maduro for her, which is in fact a direct threat given to another foreign leader, shortly after abducting their president.
All right, we leave it here. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for your perspective on the Venezuelan crisis. Moving on now. French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney in Paris ahead of the Coalition of the Willing meeting. Key Ukrainian allies will meet with top US envoys in Paris on Tuesday to discuss security guarantees as they press ahead on US brokered plans to conflict with Russia. The summit of the group of Ukraine allies, dubbed the Coalition of the Willing, is the latest of several meetings planned for the new year. Representatives of 35 countries, including 27 heads of state, will gather in Paris with the French presidency, saying the meeting aims to show the alignment between Washington, Kiev and European allies on security guarantees for Ukraine. US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner will attend the meeting of the coalition. An advisor to the French President Emmanuel Macron said the new meeting is the culmination of efforts launched after Donald Trump's arrival at the White House to prevent the United States from abandoning Ukraine. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Iran sees its most serious wave of unrest in 3 years as nationwide protests enter the 10th day. US cuts universal childhood vaccine recommendations, the move criticized by health experts. And a 6.2 magnitude earthquake hits western Japan, no tsunami warning issued.
This week on Defense Dynamics, India is reshaping its military structure with Bhaira formations. What are ramjet-powered artillery shells? And how India's rocket punch gets an emergency boost with Suryastra. As Europe and Israel turn to India for industrial depth, my take explains the why. Watch Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Yet another atrocity against Hindus has come to light in Bangladesh. This time, a Hindu woman has alleged that she was gang raped, tied to a tree and brutally tortured in Kaliganj Upazila of Janidia district on Monday. Officer in charge Jalal Hussain said that the incident took place on December 31st, but the complaint was filed later as the victim was undergoing treatment in hospital. The woman was rescued in a critically injured condition and admitted to hospital. One accused has been arrested and police are continuing the investigation. In another incident, a Hindu businessman who was also the acting editor of a newspaper was fatally shot in the head by unidentified assailants on Monday in Jessore district in southern Bangladesh. The shooting marks the latest in a spate of violent incidents against minorities in the country, especially the Hindu community members. An investigation was launched into the incident. Bangladesh has been witnessing widespread unrest since the death of Sharif Usman Hadi in December. Hadi, a prominent political activist, youth leader associated with Inqilab Manch, a political platform that played a major role in the 2024 uprising that led to the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, was set to contest February polls in Bangladesh when he was shot in broad daylight. Hadi later succumbed to his injuries at a hospital in Singapore. The murder of grocery trader Moni Chakraborty in Narsingdi district has increased fear and anger across Bangladesh. His death comes amid a worrying series of killings of members of the Hindu community in recent weeks. Moni's killing raises serious concerns about public safety, minority protection, and law and order ahead of elections. According to Palash police station officials, Moni Chakrabarti was attacked and killed at Charsindur Bazaar in Palash Upazila on Monday. Police and locals said Moni was returning home after closing his shop when unknown attackers struck him with a sharp locally made weapon. He was rushed to the nearby hospital where doctors declared him dead. Fear has grown further after another incident on January 5th when Hindu businessman and journalist Rana Pratap was shot dead in public at Kopalia Bazaar in Jashore. Moni and Rana's killing have come while the country is still shaken by two other brutal incidents. On December 18th, Deepu Chandra Das, a garment worker in Mymensingh, was beaten to death over blasphemy allegations. His body was later tied to a tree and burnt. Deepu had been working at a garment factory for 2 years. Less than 2 weeks later, on December 31st, businessman Kakon Chandra Das was stabbed and set on fire in Shariatpur. He died 3 days later while receiving treatment in Dhaka. And DD India's Naval Singh Parmar joins us on the phone line from Dhaka. Naval Singh, well, these are serious incidents of minority violence in Bangladesh. Is the law and order really failing to curb these incidents? Has there been any reaction from the administration on these minority incidents of violence?
There is no any reaction from the administration as in last 24 hours, three very serious incidents happened in Bangladesh. One is in Jashore, where Rana Kanti Bairagi was shot dead yesterday night. At the same time, there was one alleged gang rape for a Hindu woman, and that was also reported after 5 days. That shows the seriousness of the issues, that things are not reported since for 5 days. Gang rape case was not reported. So that is the one thing. And the latest in this edition is the brutal killing of Moni Chakrabarti, who is a grocery shop owner, who was a grocery shop owner, and he was killed yesterday night when he was returning from his shop to his home. The nursing is very, very nearby district, Dhaka. It is like outskirts of Dhaka. So this kind of incidents have created fear among the people of minority community, particularly those who are of middle age and a business doing or bread earner for the people of minority community. So this is the very, very serious matter. That shows how the pathetic condition of law and order in Bangladesh, and there is no preventive mechanism, any kind of preventive mechanism to stop this kind of brutal killing of minority community. It is not just only Hindus, the other minority community like Buddhist, Christian, all are subjected to different kind of violence. Even in fact, media also last fortnight they were attack on media. So law and order is very, very serious issue in Bangladesh. Policing, there is no effective presence of police force on ground. So these are the very serious issues in Bangladesh.
All right. Thank you very much, Naval Singh Parmar, for those details from Dhaka. Let me now bring in Sushil Kumar Singhal, former senior diplomat, on the story. Sir, welcome to DD India News Hour. How would you explain the sharply rising trend of violence against minorities in Bangladesh? What are the key factors at work here? Also, a comment on the brutality of some of these attacks on minorities.
Well, the thing is that this political violence, particularly against the minority community, the latest pattern has started with after the assassination of Hadi, the political unrest. This is I would not agree with the assessment of the government of Muhammad Yunus that it's an isolated incident. In my view, it's a well planned thing what is happening, and because the pattern. This is in last 18 days, the 7th killing, and the manner in which the killings are taking place. They are being lynched by the mob, which doesn't happen unless it is planned. Secondly, I think that the government is becoming of the government, the Yunus Muhammad-led government is becoming ineffective, and because they are not able to enforce law and order, or because of their own question about their legitimacy, because they have an identity crisis at the moment. So, and politically, the situation is very fragile, and communications are breaking down because they are not only targeting minority community, even the media is being targeted. The people who are same voice in Bangladesh are being targeted, and this government is not making any effort, in my view, to curtail that. It is continuing, and because the main reason is that they are not willing to accept the responsibility. And the extremist element who are, in my view, responsible for these planned killing are part of the government, and the government, the Mohammed Yunus government, is supporting them, in my view, and that is why there is an ineffectiveness on their part, which is, it's a causing problem for them, because their ultimate objective is to ensure that elections in February, which are being held here under pressure, are somehow postponed, because they feel the Jamaat Islam and the other extremist element will not be able to form the government. So whole idea is to somehow create situation, and along with that, create fear in the mind of minorities and the people who are neutral or who are secular, so that even if the voting takes place, they try to ensure that the people are not able to vote free.
Okay, expanding on what has been said, would you say the state, including the local police, acted promptly to arrest and charge the perpetrators of violence against minorities? Or would you say the state has actually played a part in quietly, or not so quietly, encouraging these atrocities against minorities? And if so, why?
Well, in my view, yes, they have been active, passive participant, because one, why I'm saying that is that, as I said, Jamaat Islami, which is the main perpetrator, are the part of the government. And whole objective, in my view, of the government, of the present interim government, is the problem is with them that, they lack legitimacy and they are not able to govern the country. Economically, there is a problem. GDP is down, in 1 year. I think it must be a record for any country, that from growth rate of 7.5%, they have come down to 3% in 1 year, which clearly shows the mismanagement of the economics. Though, Professor Yunus is an economics professor, but still, because of the kind of advisors he has, a kind of support he is seeking, he's making sure that Bangladesh is grounded, economic development or growth rate is grounded. And but only objective, in my view, is that they are trying to get domestic support of the extremist element, because they have a question of crisis of legitimacy. So whole process is because of that.
And are other countries in South Asia possibly quietly encouraging this violence against minorities in Bangladesh?
Well, yes, certain countries, because, we know that, our neighbor in the border from which Bangladesh separated, they are trying to fish in this troubled water at the moment, because it benefits them, because they don't have the resources, as we know, but they are trying to play the Islamist card, and trying to bring Bangladesh close to them, and forgetting that what they did in 1971. So for them, it's an opportunity. They are feeling that it's an opportunity for them to put India under pressure, because Bangladesh have been a close partner so far. Even today, they are very close partner when we look at economically and otherwise, because our on professional level they are talking. So which is not to the satisfaction of this country, and so they are trying to foment trouble to the extent possible, because the Jamaat Islami, we know that to whom their loyalty lies in 71, even before and even after that. Everybody knows. So they are trying to encourage, I would say actively encouraging. Of course, I don't have the evidence, but the kind of statement they are making and kind of effort they are making clearly shows that they are trying to cause problem intentionally, to ensure, or to at least attempt to have an unstable neighborhood on the eastern flank of India.
And a word on India's stance on the violence against minorities in Bangladesh, sir?
Well, the India has made its position, I think, very clear, from in the statement and in the discussion as it being reported in the media that they have encouraged the interim government to take effective action against the perpetrators. And I think there was some conversation at some level, and I see that rhetoric which was being played out by these so-called advisors, they have now toned down, but this violence is still not stopped. So what India is, I think, playing, in my view, which is the need of the hour, they're playing a quiet diplomacy, telling them privately to handle this kind of, if I can use the term, political unrest strongly. And but I think the public statements are not being made by the government intentionally because they would like to work quietly on this, and they wait, I think, for the new government to take position because we are all aware that this government, interim government, is not effective and is a temporary in any case, which will change after the February. The new government will be formed. So at the moment, I think that we are taking wait and watch, but with the strong measures of course, on our defense side, because we don't want their problems to spill over to India. But I think quietly we are talking to them, which is, I think, the perfect thing at this moment.
Okay. Such instability in any country does not augur well, especially when elections are just a month away. Thank you very much, Sushil Kumar Singhal-ji, for putting for us in perspective Bangladesh politics at the moment. We are heading into a short break here on DD India News Hour. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay tuned.
Geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A quick recap of our top stories. Venezuela's ousted President Nicolas Maduro pleads not guilty in a New York court. Delcy Rodriguez sworn in as interim president. Opposition leader Machado vows to return home as soon as possible. Attacks on minorities continue in Bangladesh. A Hindu businessman shot dead and a Hindu woman allegedly gang raped, raising law and order fears before polls. Coalition of the willing countries to gather in Paris with an aim to make security pledges concrete for Kiev. And Thailand accuses Cambodia of violating a 10-day-old truce. One soldier injured in fresh cross-border fire. Thailand's army said on Tuesday its Cambodian counterpart claimed fresh cross-border fire was an accident after Bangkok accused Cambodian forces of violating a 10-day-old truce with a strike that wounded a soldier. The two countries agreed a truce on December 27th, ending 3 weeks of clashes. Thai army in a statement accused Cambodian forces of firing mortar rounds into Thailand's Ubon Ratchathani province. One soldier was wounded by shrapnel and was evacuated for medical treatment, it added. The Thai army said in a later statement that the Cambodian side had contacted a Thai military unit and claimed that there was no intention to fire into Thai territory, adding the incident was caused by an operational error by Cambodian personnel. Moving westwards, Iran is witnessing its most serious wave of unrest in 3 years as nationwide protests entered the 10th day on Tuesday. Security forces have tightened their presence across major cities, even as US President Donald Trump warned that he could side with demonstrators if violence escalates. The protests were triggered by the sharp collapse of the Iranian rial, their currency, and surging inflation, and have spread from Tehran's Grand Bazaar to more than 220 locations across at least 78 cities in up to 31 provinces, While President Masoud Pezeshkian has called for restraint and dialogue, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has urged firm action against rioters. The judiciary has meanwhile taken a firm stand, with its chief declaring no leniency and ordering prosecutors to act strongly against the rioters, while saying that the state still distinguishes between peaceful protesters and those causing violence. In a related development, India issued a travel advisory urging its citizens to avoid non-essential travel to Iran until further notice. The advisory follows recent developments, with authorities asking Indian nationals and persons of Indian origin currently in Iran to remain cautious and avoid areas of protests or demonstrations. Residents have been advised to closely monitor updates from the Indian embassy in Tehran and follow local news. Indian citizens living in Iran on resident visas have also been asked to register with the embassy. The US took the unprecedented step on Monday of dropping the number of vaccines it recommends for every child, leaving other immunizations such as flu shots open to families to choose, but without clear guidance. The new list of recommended vaccines issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention includes polio and measles, but others such as hepatitis A and B and COVID vaccines are recommended based on risk and shared clinical decision-making between doctors and parents. Officials said the overhaul to the federal vaccine schedule won't result in any family losing access or insurance coverage for vaccines, but medical experts slammed the move, saying it could lead to preventable hospitalizations and deaths. The overhaul is the latest sweeping policy change made under the Trump administration by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Last month, President Donald Trump urged the U.S. to align with other developed nations by reducing the number of shots for children. Kennedy has previously led efforts to drop universal recommendations for COVID-19 and hepatitis B shots for children, citing links to autism that scientists have repeatedly debunked. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz will pay an official visit to India on 12th and 13th of January this year. India's External Affairs Ministry, in a statement, informed that at the invitation of Prime Minister Modi, German Chancellor will pay a two-day visit to India. This will be Chancellor Merz's first official visit to India. On the visit, he will be travelling to Ahmedabad and Bengaluru. Prime Minister will receive Chancellor Merz on 12th of January 2026 in Ahmedabad. The two leaders will take stock of the progress made in diverse aspects of India-Germany strategic partnership, which completed 25 years in 2025. The discussion will also focus on further intensifying cooperation in trade and investment, technology, education, defence and security, and people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Modi and Chancellor Merz will also engage with business and industry leaders and exchange views on issues of regional and global importance. The visit will provide a valuable opportunity to reaffirm the shared vision of India and Germany focused on building a forward-looking partnership. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is visiting Luxembourg, where he will hold discussions with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs Xavier Bettel of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg and with the senior leadership of the country. He will also be interacting with the members of the Indian community there. During his visit to France earlier, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar met International Energy Agency Executive Director Faith Birol and discussed global energy issues, including oil markets and nuclear power. Birol appreciated his assessment of the global energy scenario and extended his support for India's growth and development. During his visit, the minister also interacted with participants of the French-Indian Young Talents Program by Commerce and Industry, France-India in Paris. He discussed the transformations underway in the world and the importance of India-France collaboration in that context. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal inaugurated CSR conclave at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi on Tuesday, titled Role of Corporate Social Responsibility in Nutrition Security and Malnutrition Mitigation. The conclave aimed to deliberate upon collaborative, innovative and sustainable strategies to combat malnutrition among children. The event has been organized by National Dairy Development Board. On the occasion, two schemes were also inaugurated. the Gift Milk program, aiming to target malnutrition in school-going children. Under the program, flavored milk fortified with vitamins A and D will be supplied to these children. The second initiative was the launch of Shishu Sanjeevani program. It aims to provide nutritional support through an energy-dense, semi-solid, ready-to-eat, fortified nutritional supplements developed by the NDDB. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded the successful commissioning of the Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited's Residue Upgradation Facility (RUF) at the Visakh refinery in Andhra Pradesh. PM Modi called it a decisive leap in Bharat's journey towards energy security and self-reliance. Prime Minister Modi said this state-of-the-art facility adds momentum to the nation's efforts to boost energy independence, aligning with the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Minister for Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnav addressed Regional AI Impact Summit 2026 in Western Indian city of Jaipur on Tuesday. Speaking on the occasion, the minister highlighted the importance of AI in our day-to-day lives. The minister further mentioned that to integrate AI smoothly into our lives, the AI mission was established with that purpose.
AI को अच्छे से भारत में डेवलप करने के लिए, हमारे नागरिकों के उपयोग में लाने के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बहुत एक क्लियर विजन हम सबके सामने रखा। उसका पहला प्रिंसिपल है टेक्नोलॉजी को डेमोक्रेटाइज करना, यानी हर एक व्यक्ति को टेक्नोलॉजी की उपलब्धता हो, भारत में टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप हो सके, आत्मनिर्भर भारत के टेक्नोलॉजी के गोल्स हम पूरे कर सके। इस पूरे प्रेरणादायी विजन को लेकर एआई मिशन ने और मंत्रालय ने कई अच्छे एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ बातचीत करने के बाद में एआई मिशन की रचना की थी।
Dubai will host the 3rd International Ayush Conference and Exhibition from 15th to 17th of February, bringing together practitioners, researchers, policymakers, industry representatives and students from more than 35 countries. The conference is themed Evidence-Based Ayush Interventions in Mind-Body Health and aims to promote Ayush as a recognized healthcare system. It will include about 75 invited talks, 250 oral presentations, 200 poster sessions and a short film festival on Ayush systems of medicine. More than 1,200 delegates are expected to attend the event. It is being organized by Science India Forum in association with the World Ayurveda Foundation under the patronage of India's Ministry of Ayush.
We are expecting the presence of Honorable Minister of Ayush and the Secretary of Ayush for the conference. This opened the opportunity for a government-to-government level communication and a possibility of bilateral collaboration in the field of Ayush. We are aiming for, one of the largest and the finest Ayush conferences outside India ever happened.
A cricket tournament in central Indian city of Bhopal is turning heads by blending sport with tradition. Players from Vedic institutions are competing in traditional dhoti kurta attire with match commentary delivered in Sanskrit. Organizers say the event aims to promote the ancient language and participation is limited to players who can recite Vedic mantras. Take a look.
In a unique blend of culture and sport, a cricket tournament is underway at Ankur Khel Parisar in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, where players compete in traditional dhoti kurta attire instead of conventional cricket jerseys. The participants, drawn from various Vedic universities and schools, represent a diverse group of young athletes committed to both sporting excellence and the preservation of traditions. Adding to the event's distinct character, match commentary is delivered in Sanskrit, reflecting the organizers' vision to promote the ancient language.
ये हमारा करने का एक उद्देश्य है कि संस्कृत को बढ़ावा देने के लिए। ये धोती कुर्ता हम इसलिए खेल रहे हैं कि भाई संस्कृत भाषा है, सभी भाषाओं की जननी भाषा है, वो संस्कृत भाषा में भी टूर्नामेंट कोई प्रतियोगिता हो सकती है।
According to the organizers, participation is exclusive, limited to players who can recite Sanskrit mantras.
हमारी ये संस्कृति आप देख सकते हैं, जो धोत वस्त्र में यहाँ पे ये पहन के खेल रहे हैं, वो हमारी संस्कृति है। देवभाषा संस्कृत का प्रचार करना, संस्कृति का प्रसार करना इसका मुख्य उद्देश्य है। उनका चयन केवल उनके मंत्रोच्चारण के उच्चारण कौशल के देखते हुए उनका चयन करते हैं, उनको ही यहाँ पे खेलने का अवसर दिया जाता है, अन्यथा उनका भी बाहर हम भेजते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे बिना उच्चारण किए वैदिक मंत्रों का यहाँ पे अवसर किसी को नहीं मिलता है।
This one-of-a-kind event blends heritage, language and sport, using cricket, a game loved across the country, to celebrate India's rich cultural legacy.
You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. Under economic duress for years, German economy shows signs of recovery. Australia ends day 3 of the final Ashes test at 518 for 7 as skipper Steve Smith and Travis Head smash tons.
This week on Defense Dynamics, India is reshaping its military structure with Bhaira formations. What are ramjet-powered artillery shells? And how India's rocket punch gets an emergency boost with Suryastra. As Europe and Israel turn to India for industrial depth, my take explains the why. Watch Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Despite the German economy struggling to get out of its weakness of several years, not all Germans are doing that bad. Wealth is up, according to a new statistic. Let's find out. Lars Walter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin on the story. Lars, hi. What can you tell us about these latest developments?
That's a great question, because we're dealing with a very German phenomenon here. Germans are very fiscally conservative. They put a lot of money aside. Their savings rate stands at 10.3%, which means for every 100 euros they have, they put just over 10%, 10 euro into their savings account. Seen on a monthly basis, that means that 270 euros are being put into every German household's account. Well, obviously, that's on average. So this savings rate is a lot higher than in other countries. But as great as that sounds, it's not only positive, because many Germans apparently park their money in savings accounts with very little interest. So while money accumulates there, it doesn't grow, and that is very different in some other countries, like the United States, for example, where a lot more money is actively invested. And while that is more risky, it also allows for more growth.
So tell us more about it, Lars. Yes, there are some signs of recovery there, but where is that growth coming from?
Thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, it might sound a bit surprising. We've seen 3 years of an economy between recession and stagnation. We've hardly seen any growth, and yet wealth is up. And the headline number is something to behold. Germans have a private wealth of more than 10 trillion euros. If you want to write that down, that's a 1 followed by 13 zeros. And that's the private wealth held by German households. It has grown steadily over the years, even through the last 3 years that have been economically challenging. This past year, it has apparently grown by around 6%. That is according to the...
All right, let's give you more news about Japan now. A 6.2 magnitude earthquake shook the coast of western Japan on Tuesday with no tsunami warning issued. The epicenter of the first earthquake was in eastern Shinmanye Prefecture, The Japan Meteorological Agency said, adding that there was no danger of a tsunami. There was no report of any major damage. The quake measured under 5 on Japan's Shindo scale of shakiness in the western city of Yasugi, strong enough to make movement difficult without support. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority said there were no irregularities at the plant. West Japan Railway Department said it had suspended Shinkansen bullet train operations between Shin Osaka and Hakata following the quake. Japan sits on top of 4 major tectonic plates along the western edge of the Pacific Ring of Fire and is one of the world's most seismically active countries. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. First updates from Ashes. Dominant Australia ended day 3 of the final Ashes test against England at 518 for 7, taking a formidable lead of 134 runs. After Travis's mammoth 163, Australian skipper Steve Smith continued his team's charge with a blazing 100 at the SCJ. Opening the innings, Head produced a splendid knock, looking set to complete a double ton before Jacob Bethel got him out. Marnus Labuschagne, who accompanied Head at the start of the play, was dismissed just 2 runs shy of his half-century. Earlier in the day, England were all out for 384, with Joe Root scoring his 41st Test century. For Australia, pacer Michael Neser took a 4-wicket haul, while Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland took 2 wickets each. Athletes will hope to bring laurels for their respective states and union territories as the second day of the Khelo India Beach Games got underway in Diu today. They are competing in various sports such as beach soccer, beach volleyball, beach pencak silat and beach kabaddi. Over 2,100 athletes are participating in the competition, which aims to promote sports and fitness among young people. Around 25 states and 6 union territories feature in the games, which run from 5th to 10th of January. The world celebrates the birthday of a man today whose melodies don't just entertain, they heal, inspire and unite. His music transcends language, borders and generations. Team DD India wishes a very happy birthday to music maestro A.R. Rahman. Take a look. Born as Dilip Kumar in Chennai, A.R. Rahman's journey from a quiet boy with a keyboard to a global musical phenomena is nothing short of extraordinary. A journey where devotion met discipline and talent met destiny. Rahman's film career began in 1992 when he started a recording and mixing studio in his backyard. It would become the most advanced recording studio in India and arguably one of Asia's most sophisticated and high-tech studios. The same year, he was approached by director Mani Ratnam to compose the score and soundtrack for his Tamil film Roja. From redefining Indian cinema with Roja to creating timeless anthems like Vande Mataram, Jai Ho, and Kun Faya Kun. Rahman did not just compose songs, he composed emotions. His versatility lies in combining Western classical music, Carnatic and Tamil folk music traditions with jazz and rock music. Rahman's music for 2008's Slumdog Millionaire won him a Golden Globe and 2 Academy Awards. An Oscar winner, a Grammy and a BAFTA winner as well. Yet beyond the accolades, Rahman remains a symbol of humility, letting his music speak louder than words.
And the Oscar goes to A.R. Rahman, the Slumdog Millionaire.
When they announced my name for the score, I was like, is this real or is it a dream?
Whether it's Hollywood, Bollywood or world music, Rahman built bridges through sound, blending classical Indian roots with modern global rhythms. In 2014, Rahman was awarded an honorary doctorate from the Berklee College of Music during a concert that paid tribute to his music. Featuring over 100 performers from 32 countries. Upon receiving this reward, Rahman had remarked how life comes full circle. As at the start of his career, he had planned to study at the Berkleys before being offered the opportunity to score Roja. For millions, his music is memory. For many, it's faith. And for aspiring artists, A.R. Rahman is proof that sincerity and soul never go out of tune. On his special day, we celebrate not just a composer, but a storyteller who turns silence into symphonies. Team DD India wishes Allah Rakha Rahman a very happy birthday. Thank you, Rahman, for the music that lives forever. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates at your fingertips. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.